Hello, so this is Mike and Renee Friedrich with the Friedrich team at eXp Realty
and the Living in Sacramento YouTube channel. So if you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the alert so that you're the first to know about all things living in Sacramento. And specifically today, we are having a debate.
There you go. I wish we had I have my glasses,
which
I took off, thank God.
So anyway, we're debating today, Dorado Hills or Folsom, and this comes up all the time with our clients, right?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, if you've seen our map tours, they are very close to each other.
Yes, they're
right?
Neighboring communities. Yeah. So, and there's pros and cons with both, of course, like always. And this literally comes up when we start showing people houses that are looking to move from out of the area, or even just coming up the hill from Sacramento, just wanting to get a little bit more land or get away from the downtown area. Oftentimes it's, okay, well, we like both. Where should we go? And so we thought we'd do a quick video to share with you guys some of those pros and cons and highlights of both communities.
Yeah, and whether you're moving in a month, in a week, or in a year.
Not in that order.
Not in that order. You probably have questions, and we get questions from people like you all the time. So we love answering those questions, of course, right?
Yes.
So just send them to us.
Yeah, just whether you want to text, email, call, whatever works best for you, we are here for you, and the whole team loves it.
With that, let's dive in. I think Folsom versus Dorado Hills, like you said, it gets debated all the time, right? One of my big pros for Folsom is that it's in Sacramento County.
That can be a pro and a con, like always, and it is part of the Sacramento Municipal Utility District.
Difficult word, huh?
Yes, so it is part of SMUD, which from an electricity standpoint is much less expensive than the counterpart here in El Dorado County. And I say here because our office is actually in El Dorado County, and we have PG&E, and that's just more expensive. So I would say that's a +1 for Folsom for sure.
And you don't have it on the list though, but with Sacramento County, I think comes also higher insurance rates.
Well, it depends.
Yeah. Well,
like for car insurance,
that's what
possibly.
I mean. Right.
For homeowners insurance.
Well, we'll talk about that later.
Yes. So, again, pros and cons always for any community. But I would say that being part of SMUD versus PG&E is a huge pro in the Folsom column.
Right. And then it depends if you pro big city, pro small city, right?
Right. Folsom is definitely a bigger town than El
Dorado
Hills.
How many
We've got about 81,000 residents in the Folsom area versus El Dorado Hills is just over 47,000. So not half the size, although fairly close to half the size of Folsom.
Yeah.
But
the feel is very different.
It is. I mean, I still find whenever we're down in Folsom that I still feel like it's, even though it's almost a big city, it definitely has that small town feel. I always run into people that I know, whether we're in El Dorado Hills or Folsom. So both have that vibe. But there's a lot more to do and a lot more restaurants in Folsom, just simply because they have a larger population to support.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, with that also comes traffic, right? So if you're running from one side of Folsom to the other, it's not uncommon during rush hour. It could take you 20-30 minutes, right?
Easily, especially if you're going from like Old Town all the way up to Costco. Right. That can definitely take a minute because you're all surface streets and there's no easy way to do it.
Although El Dorado Hills Boulevard is actually getting up there too, right?
It's starting to get a little congested in El Dorado Hills as well, but nowhere to the extent of the traffic in Folsom.
But it's funny though, if you look at the geography for El Dorado Hills and Folsom, they are both more, if you look at the map, Highway 50 is on the bottom, right? And then so they stretch from south to north more. And so you have the East Bidwell corridor that I call it in Folsom that we just talked about. It is really, really congested, much more so than El Dorado Hills Boulevard. But then basically parallel, you have El Dorado Hills Boulevard that takes you from one side of El Dorado Hills to the other.
That's correct. Yeah, and most of the city, in both cases, is built north of the freeway. However, both El Dorado Hills and Folsom are extending south of Highway 50, and that's also big debates that happen, and it's completely changing the look and feel of both cities with the way that you drive through town right now on Highway 50.
Right.
So there's that.
Now, and then, so if you're pro Costco, you definitely want to be in Folsom. But
At least
then
for now.
El Dorado Hills might get one.
They keep saying that we're going to get one. It hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
They were planning it right behind our old house before we moved last year.
Right.
It was literally going to be in our backyard to where like the boys were like, oh, we can just like scooter over there and get a hot dog at lunch or
Right.
whatever.
I was just excited about getting off the freeway and getting gas and not having to drive all the way down to Folsom.
Right. It's one
10
exit,
minutes.
you guys.
Right.
And so we'll talk about that in a little bit, but that's the great thing about these two communities is they are right next door to each other. And so really, whether you pick one or the other, you get the amenities of both for the most part. So it's pretty cool.
I mean, if you're considering renting and you're probably, I don't know, you're probably going to watch this show, even if you're considering renting, not necessarily buying a home, right? They're building a lot of apartments across from the Palladio, which is the mall in Folsom. That was supposed to come 20 years earlier than it actually did, right?
Right. That's another topic for another day.
That we're not going to go into.
But there are a lot more apartments available in Folsom. So when you are checking out the area, and a lot of people do rent before they buy when they're relocating. And so there are definitely a lot more options in Folsom than there are in El Dorado Hills. There's a handful, but just not as many. Again, there's, almost double the population in Folsom. So that makes sense.
And if you're going to battle again,
right?
So what is it, Sutter Street or Town Center?
Oh, gosh.
Right?
It's a toss-up. It really depends on what you're looking for and what your vibe is. As far as like a single scene or a nightlife, Sutter Street, hands down.
Yeah, definitely.
And if it's more of a chill, relaxed, I want to go listen to some music with some friends or, a date night, I think Town Center.
And it also, I mean, if you want to have the Tuscan feel, right, or the European flair of a traditional town center where there's lots of shops around, it's definitely a town center. Versus if you're going down to Sutter Street, it's Western town.
Yeah, it's historic.
Right.
It's an old historic Western town. And so they've got antique shops and saloons, and although El Dorado Hills has a saloon as well.
Yeah.
But
not in town center.
But not in town center. It's in the other part of, the other shopping and eating district of El Dorado Hills. And so it's a totally different feel, the El Dorado Hills Town Center versus Old Folsom's historic district.
Right.
So.
And lucky for you guys, Renee did a piece on both, right? You did one on Old Town Folsom, Sutter Street, and also one on Town Center in El Dorado Hills. So check out those two videos.
Yeah,
right?
It was actually the walking tours. So we've got some houses thrown in there, as well as some shopping and food highlights. So yes, watch those videos. And
since we're in shopping, so there is no outlets in El Dorado Hills, but there's one in Folsom.
Yes,
right?
There's a lot more shopping and restaurants in Folsom because of the population demands. And so we've got Palladio, we have the Folsom Premium Outlets.
We have the Auto Mall, which you didn't put on the list, but I just remember.
Yeah. So as far as car shopping, other than I think there might be one used car dealer, not even in El Dorado Hills. It's just Bunhausen Mercedes in El Dorado Hills, versus you have multiple dealers down in Folsom as well. So you have to go up the hill a little bit more to get more options for your car buying desires here in El Dorado County. And then, just back to the shopping, there's a lot more of the big box and chain stores in Folsom. So you've got your Target. Well, we have Target in El Dorado Hills too.
We do.
But there's Target, Walmart, Trader Joe's. Oh my gosh, all of the outlets, Sam's Club, Costco. Obviously, we've already talked about that. That's all in Folsom. And also, you've got a lot more chain restaurants in Folsom than you have in El Dorado.
Which again, I mean, you have double the almost double the population. So the number of you talked about the chain stores versus chain restaurants.
Yes.
And then the locally owned ones.
Right.
Right.
And I would say that El Dorado Hills, we have mostly locally owned restaurants versus the chain restaurants.
That's right.
Obviously, we've got the fast food options like, Taco Bell and McDonald's and Jack in the Box and all the places that, your kids all want to go to, or, if you're in a rush. And other than that, though, it's almost all locally owned restaurants. So we've got some of our favorites, which would be Sienna and Sellen's, which you talked about on the East Sac tour because they're in both. And
Sienna is in both, actually, Folsom and El Dorado Hills. The owners are.
the owners are,
Right.
yeah. So
you talked about Land Ocean when you did the Folsom tour.
Yes, I did drive through Land Ocean's parking lot and gave a shout out to our favorite bartender there, Taylor.
Yeah.
And so, the Pratt family, they own Sienna, Land Ocean, and now they just opened South Fork, which we actually just had lunch there today. It was delicious.
Yeah. So if you don't know what to get on the menu, I mean, everything is good. My favorite is definitely the Philly cheesesteak.
And the shrimp and grits are pretty outstanding as well. So great job with that, you guys, Mark and Carolyn. And then also we've got Milestone, of course, which is across the way from South Fork.
Right.
And then they just built a new restaurant that is a gluten-free option, and that's called The Almighty.
Yeah,
Also,
I think I mentioned that in my map tour, actually, because you had just lunch there.
I did just have lunch a couple weeks ago there. It was also super good. Like every restaurant that we ever go to in El Dorado Hills, I feel like is super yummy.
Let's not forget the steakhouse that's right under the movie theater.
Yeah, Sea Night Steakhouse, also locally owned.
And then we have one of our breakfast places that we love, Mimosa House.
Yep.
Right. And then favorite food over at Land Ocean in Folsom, which again is the same family as Sienna. I would say probably the appetizer.
Yeah.
Right?
It's the blue cheese dip.
Yeah.
It's his favorite for sure.
Well, here we are. We're talking about food again.
Well, and if you are at Land Ocean, you're back down in Folsom, and go see our friend Taylor, and she will make you a mean jalapeno margarita. Yeah. And so, like, we can't talk about food without talking about the cocktails as well.
And I mean, in the same shopping center, and you talked about it in the Folsom tour, is my favorite Italian, our favorite Italian, right? Visconti's.
We almost fought today over where to go to lunch.
There you go. We should have really brought our...
Right?
We have to redo this at some point.
No, I think it's good. Okay. So anyway, Visconti's is definitely one of our favorite Italian places in the whole region, and that's been in Folsom. It's a Folsom staple for decades. They just had an anniversary party, and I think it was like their 30th anniversary here in Folsom. And the whole family, they've got, I think, 3 generations that work there now. And it's just so fun. They come around to the table, they say hello, and...
like you expected from the... like you see it on the movies, right? Right. They say hi, they ask how the food is. And what I love about them as well is when we went to the Folsom Police Foundation charity event the other day.
Yeah.
I saw them there, so they're really involved in the community too, which is very...
They totally give back too. Dominic, a bunch of years ago, did a fundraiser for seniors, and they were trying to help seniors have more access to music. And so they collected old iPods. And I don't even know if you remember, he went around and asked for donations because they were trying to serve dinner, and they donated like huge platters of their, it was... Oh my gosh, the vodka sauce pasta, and oh my goodness, it was amazing.
I do remember.
So the car smelled so good, it was torture going back to the junior high. It's been a number of years since we were there.
That's
so
good.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm keep looking. So if since we're on restaurants, I think a lot of the, what makes a community is really the quality of establishments that you can go to, have fun with family or friends, or if you're allowed to just be able to go somewhere and really enjoy the community.
Correct.
And a big part is restaurants, at least for us, right? So there's Bacchus House. Did we talk about that yet?
Nope, we haven't.
No, so that's right next to the steakhouse in Folsom.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
It's right next to Banderas.
Yeah.
Banderas and Bacchus right next to each other. Then you also have the back wine bar. So lots of B restaurants. That's in Palladio.
Okay.
And I think Palladio is a great amenity for Folsom in general. There's a huge Barnes & Noble there that's got a little cafe. You can, see lots of live music there. You can in Town Center too. So
and since we're going back between Folsom and that, right?
Yeah.
So they both offer it in a different setting.
Yes.
And then I think, I'm not sure about Folsom, but at least El Dorado Hills has 2 venues. They have the Music in the Park, which is at the CSD.
Correct.
And and the music concert series in Town Center, like you just talked about.
Yes, and of course there's live music at different bar venues and things as well. But as far as what the community puts on, actually Folsom has multiple as well.
Yeah, that's right. The rodeo, we can't skip on the rodeo.
We can't not talk about the rodeo, but what I meant is the music in the summertime. They have it down in Historic Folsom, and they have concerts at Palladio as well. So again, they're kind of even Steven. So it really just depends on your vibe.
Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong either way. Right?
I think both communities are super highly rated for, raising families. The schools are amazing in both. So, like checkity check on both sides. And then Parks and Rec too. So you've got the Folsom Parks and Rec department that does a great job of maintaining the miles and miles and miles of trails. And El Dorado Hills, we've got the community service district, and they do a great job with that. And all of the activities, both have great activities. Ooh, I just thought of a plus for Folsom that El Dorado Hills doesn't have.
Is it the zoo?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just thought about it too. great minds thinking that.
And 24 years of marriage. So there's that also. So the Folsom Zoo is super fun and just such a great treat for kids of all ages, I would say. And they do a number of really great events throughout the year as well that aren't just animal related. They bring you in for lots of other things.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about the topography. Did I say that right? I think I did.
You did.
So because I think that's the biggest difference between the two.
As you're driving through, I would say, probably. So Folsom is going to be much more flat because it's right before you get into the foothills. So Sacramento Valley, it's a valley, so it's surrounded by hills, but it's flat in the middle, and Folsom is still rather flat. So there's a handful of areas.
Right on the hill, Costco is. So if you want to have views, you can have views, but I think the overall inventory on the homes available with views is significantly smaller than you would find in El Dorado Hills. But with the hills comes what?
Well, stairs usually, and sometimes you'll have a hillside down for your backyard, and sometimes you'll have a hillside up for your backyard. So there's again always pros and cons. I would say that in Folsom, for the view home sites, that typically they're going to be more of the custom lots, so you're spending a little bit more for those homes.
I agree.
Versus El Dorado Hills, I think that you can get even into what you would consider a track home that sometimes has great views. One of our clients has amazing views. We helped her buy a house right before the pandemic, and she just had green belt. So when she was working from home all during the last 2.5 years, she had amazing views, and she got them just in time. So yay for Jeannie.
There you go.
But you definitely have a little bit more variety of elevation in El Dorado Hills, which also makes for really great walks.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
And strenuous. Strenuous? Is that the one? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Difficult language.
I think you're doing great.
Okay. So is there anything else we need to talk about?
I mean, both have very easy access to Folsom Lake, which is a huge amenity. Folsom also has Lake Natoma, which we've talked about in a lot of our different videos, that's just a really great smaller lake that is completely non-motorized. So you don't have any boats or jet skis or anything on that lake. So it's really nice for paddleboarding, kayaking.
And very calm water. Somehow it's really protected from because it's almost like in a canyon, right?
Yeah.
It's a pretty wide river, in my opinion.
Right. They just call it a lake.
They call it a lake because they dam it at the end. And at the end of it, there's actually a fish hatchery.
Yes. Right? Yeah. So you can go, I think in the fall. Typically,
when the salmon come back.
The salmon run, and it's super fun. They do school outings there, and
we've
field
taken
trips.
the kids to it, right?
Yeah.
The family, visiting friends.
Yes.
It's you name it.
Yeah. So I would say again, I know we tried to duke it out, but I think both communities have a ton to offer. And if you have any questions about what's going to be best for you, if you have a family, what's going to be best for your family. Whatever.
If you're single and you just want to have a lot of outdoors, right? Yeah. Doesn't matter. You can have it in either community. It's it doesn't matter if you want to retire. They both have retirement communities, right? So any age you're at, any point of life you're at, really, it doesn't matter. They have both great things to offer.
For sure.
And it's really a toss-up. So I think the best way is give us a call. We'll set up an appointment and we'll take you to both, and then you get to decide.
Absolutely. everything.
Right.
So like Mike said, whether you're looking to move in a week, a month, or a year, we are here to help you make a smooth move to anywhere in Sacramento. And if you love Folsom and El Dorado Hills, we can help you pick.
Yeah, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the alert button.
Thanks, you guys.
Take care.
Bye.